people that are watching this, they're thinking, I thought you were a podcast about business retention. We are. This is. And
You
though,
get to retain.
yes, this is it.
And the other part is, as a leader, you have to set examples. And these are the examples that you set. And this is how you create the culture where people want to stay.
You're listening to the podcast for small business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders who are tired of the client hustle. We believe sustainable business isn't about chasing new leads. It's about keeping the great clients you already have. Let's dive in. I am so excited to have my new friend Whitney here with me. We are in for a treat as we get to know a little bit about her, who she is, how she helps in the world. And when I got on the connection call with her a week or two ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, we were just chatting. And what came up for me was, not only are you a business woman who helps with a lot of different things, but you also have the mindset of health and wellness and taking care of yourself. And they go hand in hand. So we're going to kind of see where our conversation goes today. But
Okay.
for people that are watching live right now, would you just introduce yourself, tell them who you are, and just a little bit about how you help in the world and what lights you up? Just whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for having me. And I really enjoyed our conversation a couple
Okay.
of weeks ago. And I'm Whitney Wiley. I am, in the grand scheme of things, I guess I am a lot of things, right? We have these labels, and I have any number of labels. I'm a lawyer. I am a coach, a consultant. I'm a real estate agent, but those are just labels. And who I am really at my core is someone who is about helping other people be, and this sometimes comes off as a little cliche, but it is the truth. Help people be the best versions of themselves and to get in touch with what it is they are actually about, what they want, and then help them make that happen. And so, whether it is working with clients, helping them manage risk and protect assets, or to enter into business contracts or acquire property, or when I'm working with my clients, coaching and consulting clients, helping them around areas of leadership development, employee engagement, et cetera, right? All of it boils down to being in touch with who you are, what you want, and then coming up with a plan of action to make that happen. And so I really like to think of myself as someone who is about getting in touch and grounded in reality and then moving from there.
Yeah, that's so good. Since we last spoke, I actually just published a new book, and it's actually called Who Are You? I think you didn't know that. I've been working on it for 2 years, and it was written for women really to be able to dig in to understand who they are, why it matters that they show up in the world the way that they were meant to, the cost
Yeah,
if they don't, because there's a cost to you and there's a cost to the world, right?
absolutely.
And so,
Absolutely.
and I've taught this in live retreats and workshops and stuff, and I finally put it in book format. So you didn't know that, and you're like, who? It comes down to, who are you, though? It's
It
true.
does. It
Because if you
does.
don't know who you are, you can't build anything else from there.
Absolutely. I just spent yesterday and then a couple of days last week training around that concept and the importance of self awareness and taking the time to actually get to know yourself. I think the piece that's missing in that is that, particularly in the United States, maybe Western culture, a little broader, we're so busy acquiring things and moving towards the goal that we don't stop to think about who we need to become in order to achieve that goal. And so then when we get the things that we want, that it doesn't necessarily align with the person that we are or the person that we need to be in order to have that goal. And so
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of what I focus on with my clients and myself, quite frankly, is who am I right now? Who am I becoming in process? And making sure that it actually aligns with the vision that I have and the values that I have. Again,
Nice.
and I'll be looking forward to reading your book.
Yeah, I'll
Be
send you a
interesting.
copy. I'll send you a copy. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh,
That'll be my thank you for being on this show. I'll send you a copy.
thank you.
You're more than welcome. Yeah, so we typically talk about business and retention and how to grow your business really strong. But I don't think it's an accident that before I even asked you more about your who you are and how you help in the world, it's all about who are you, because that is critical. I know one of the things that when we talked about the on our call, you mentioned how you help business owners, entrepreneurs get real estate space that they can use for themselves, but also then use to have recurring income. And that's
Yeah.
something I think that's newer. I've heard other people doing, but I love that you're doing that. And do you have any tips around if anybody's watching and they have a business and they need space, but I don't want to just rent to have space, they could actually probably spend just a little bit more and actually own the thing and do what they want with it, right?
Absolutely. And it go again. So you're going to hear this recurring theme. It goes back to what your vision is. And so if your vision is to acquire a property, or maybe this is the first time a seed was planted, you go, I'm renting space. I could be leasing that space and making whatever excess available to someone else to help pay to make your lease payments or to actually purchase the building. And so I would say starting there with getting clear about what your vision is, what it is you want, and how that's going to serve you in your business, right? So it's not just acquiring property for the sake of acquiring property, but to stop and think about how will the acquisition of this asset actually help me reach the goals that I have, the bigger picture goals. And I started thinking about this in terms of a few years ago, co-work space became really huge thing, right? And so I went out and looked for co-work space, but it didn't exactly meet my needs and the things that I want to do. Right now, when I am a guest on a podcast like yours, or when I am recording my own, I tend to do it from my office. I'm in my office at home. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have studio space? And then a trend that I'm seeing actually in podcasts are people going to actual studios to record. And the owners of those studios, or the whoever's facilitating those studios, they'll have different backdrops and things that people
Mhm.
can use so that everyone that comes, it feels like it's created just for them. That way, I don't have to record from home. I don't have to worry about whether or not I have the right equipment, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera. And so it got me thinking, wouldn't it be nice to do that and make space available for events? I am a managing director, in addition to all the other things, a managing director with eWomen Network. And I was having trouble identifying places to have events. All kinds of issues that come up around that. I won't go into those here,
No, I've
but
yeah, I've tried to host events too, and it is a logistical nightmare. And then
it
when
was
you
like,
finally find the place, they charge you the thing plus tax plus the thing, and
"No,
it's like
absolutely.
I don't even talk to me about all that.
Absolutely. And so I'm in a community and a world with coaches and trainers and podcast hosts and others that are putting on events. And I was thinking it would be really nice to have a place to do this. So I've been thinking about it for myself, and then running into the question with a couple of clients who are renting space for their businesses, and thinking, wouldn't it be nice to own the building and rent it to someone else? So it was, I don't want to say the mother of invention is the mother of necessity is it mother of invention? I think that's the way that goes. I don't it's not necessarily that, but certainly a seed was planted from my experience and the experience of others that there's a different way for us to do this. And it just starts by having that seed planted and thinking, this is something I can do. So, a couple of things as a business owner. One, you should be working with a banker, right? Now, a lot of times when we are just starting our business or we haven't grown it to what we think deserves a banker,
Right.
what I have learned is that everyone should have a banker. You should be working with a banker because that is the person who's going to advocate for you when it's time for you to do things like acquire property or if you need a loan to or capital to grow your business for equipment, etc. And so a banker, you should have a relationship with a lender whether you are currently in the market for a piece of property, whether it's a residential or commercial, you should start building a relationship with a lender and a real estate professional.
Yeah.
Right. So
Sure.
I would say you start with your vision, you start getting some clarity around that, and then start building the relationships. You may not purchase the building for years, but it is having someone they putting together a team and having them in your corner so that they are constantly helping you make sure that decisions that you're making will serve your longer term needs. Here's another thing that I learned that can be a detriment to getting a loan, whether it's for equipment or growth, scaling, or acquiring property is that we've got a tax professional who's trying to help us save on taxes, right? Which usually means as many deductions as possible and bringing down that income so that the taxable income is low
Right.
for tax purposes. That is not necessarily in alignment with showing maximum income in
To be able
order
to
to get the
qualify for, yes. But you
exactly.
need your people talking. They need to know each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that way they're helping you reach the goal that you want to get to. I love
But
how
they
you
can't
said,
do that if they don't know what it is.
yeah,
And if you wait until you think you're ready to purchase and you've been doing things in a way that's contrary to what you need for that goal, you
mm,
may have shot yourself in the foot short term, hopefully, but
right.
maybe even longer term and keeping that from happening for you.
I love the idea of planning and planting those seeds ahead of time. What I have found to be very true in my life is once I know where I'm going and I know who I am and where I'm going, I start to lay things out. The opportunities that start to show up are just different. They're just different. And so
For sure.
you know it's something you want, even if it's not right now, laying the groundwork for that really can help. And yeah, I love
Absolutely.
that. So I have one more question before we switch and put
Yes.
our retention hat on. But knowing you do all kinds of different things, who is the ideal client you love to work with? Who's somebody like, if they're listening and you start talking, they're like, oh, that's me. Or this will also help me know more about who you like to work with. So maybe I can connect you with anybody I know.
Absolutely. So my ideal client is going to be an entrepreneur who is figuring, I don't want to say figuring out, but has come to a place where they are moving forward in their business. They have the clarity of their vision, or maybe they've been moving along and it's time to make a shift or a change, and they're not quite sure what that is. And I can help them with that clarity but they are very goal oriented. They are have a growth mindset and open to the possibilities of whatever, right? Someone who is open to opportunities, potentialities, and possibilities. That's what the way I like to say OPP.
Oh,
And
very good.
opportunities, possibilities, and potentialities. And the reason for that is it is that we often are stuck because we want something or we're not clear what we want. And we're either not taking action or we're taking action that isn't serving us or isn't moving us in the direction that we want. Because to your point, when you are clear and you know where you're going, things start to show up for you.
Yeah, they're just
And
it's
so
just
having clients that are like that, with that mindset and open to making change is really important. And for me right now, someone who is thinking that acquiring property would be something that would serve them and their business long term. So it could be in a lease relationship. Maybe it's not purchasing right now, but leasing something. Someone, a coach or a consultant a trainer who puts on events or retreats that is looking for property. And it doesn't have to be in California. That's the beauty. I have a broad network. I actually have someone that I know that is selling a business, and I am in the process of connecting her with a business broker. She's in another state on the other side of the country. And so I reached out to my network to see if we could find a business broker that could help her sell this business. So it
awesome.
doesn't
That's
have to
great.
be necessarily purchasing property, it could be buying, selling a business, it could be buying, selling, leasing property. And then my job would be to help get the clarity about what it is you're trying to do and help you make that happen. Going back to my opening and introduction, it really is about, I'm really about helping people achieve their dreams. And I can do that in a number of different ways. And the beauty of being connected to people is that I know where to reach out. And if I don't know that person directly, I know someone who knows someone, right? We're
Yes.
6 degrees of separation. And I like to think that I'm even quicker than that. So
When you have a life and set up around relationships and connections, I think it's more less than six.
for
And
sure.
I think was it Zig Ziglar who said that if you or who was it that said if you help enough people get what they want, you get everything you want. Was it Zig or somebody? It was somebody famous.
Somebody along that
Good.
line.
Yeah,
Yes.
good. Yeah, and so I think that we are definitely in alignment with what we teach and what we think. And when we started talking before about the podcast and what you might speak about, you had a couple of different examples and things that would be good, and they were all good. But knowing that we have to know who we are is the base of everything, and we start to build a business and we want to build it to where it leaves a legacy. It's not just a
Yeah.
transactional thing, that we want it to be able to have a client come in and then they continue to work with you at ongoing if that's appropriate, or they refer you, right? They stay in your world. They're part of your circle. And but none of that's gonna happen if we don't take care of ourselves first. And I've heard a lot of people teach this as well, but the concept I teach is overflow. And I teach that you can't give what you don't have. If your cup's empty, you have nothing to give. And that so you pretend that you've got a saucer under this cup and you give out of the saucer, right? And so the cup is mine. And if I don't have anything in my saucer, then I start to get in trouble when I start to try and give out of my own cup, because then I start to deplete. And so if I want to have a successful business and take care of my team in a way that allows them to stay with me longer, or my clients to stay with me longer, to be able to show appropriate appreciation, and do all the things and make it to where retention really is simple. My program's called Retention Made Simple. It begins and ends with me. me knowing who I am,
Yeah.
what my vision is, and pouring into my own. And so I know you had something to say about that and thought we would just transition our conversation that way.
No, it absolutely does start there. You can't pour from an empty cup. And when you had shared your analogy, I think I shared I was at a women's conference a few years ago and had someone demonstrate that. And it was really profound. And it's something that has stuck with me since then. And she just took a glass and she poured into it and like half full, right? It's half full. And where so many people are business owners, employees, leaders in organization is everyone is doing so much. They are overextended. Again, just a few days ago, people are telling me how overextended they are. And so it starts with you your vision, but you got to get in touch with your values so that you can set boundaries, right? Because without boundaries, you will continue to try to feed people, take care of people from a cup half full. And as you pour out of that, you're more and more depleted, which means you don't have the energy to do the things that you want to do. You can't interact with people in a way that is positive, that brings value to them. Or you can do that for a period of time and then you're bitter and angry about what it's taking from you.
And
And
resentful and possibly burnout.
exactly, exactly. And so in order to keep that from happening, taking a step back again to that vision, what is it that you want? How do you want to feel at the end of the day? How do you want to feel after being in the presence of other people? And we don't stop to think about that enough, right? There are people who fuel us and there are people who deplete us. And some of
And
the
when she
people
said that, you probably thought of somebody on both instances, didn't you? You had a picture of the person that gives you energy and the person that takes your energy. We know that. We know those people.
absolutely, right? We're with them every day. We love those people, right? Even people that deplete us may be people that we love. And so it becomes about looking at why is the depletion happening? And then what can I do to set myself up for that interaction? And so your options are you can avoid those people, not be in their presence. That's one way. But if they're people that you love and people that are in your life or that you work with and you're not ready to remove yourself from that work situation or remove them, or you're not empowered or don't have the authority to remove them, what can you do on the front end to take care of yourself? And so a lot of the work that I do with my clients is around that. This what we call self-care. I call it mindfulness, being very present and in touch, in tune, and in touch with what is going on with you emotionally, physically. We tend to sometimes think of self care as a great thing. I love a manicure, love a pedicure, love massages, all of that, right? But self care could be removing yourself from a situation for 5 minutes.
Amen.
Yeah. Or every morning, having a morning routine and getting up and feeding your soul first
Mm.
thing before you start letting the what happens throughout the day. Right now, we're in a country that's very divided and all kinds of things are happening and people are feeling put upon. Don't jump out of bed looking at your phone,
Oh
reading the
dear. Yeah.
news on social media, right?
Mm.
Maybe that's the place you have to start for self-care. It is something as simple as, you know what? I'm not going to even use the phone for social media or reading the news, looking at the news, etc., until afternoon, right? I'm going to start my day with prayer, meditation, some exercise, some quiet time journaling. I'm a big believer in journaling.
Yeah.
A journal coach as well as a mindfulness coach, right? And so bringing these modalities to bear to help people say, you know what, I need to prepare myself for the world and whatever's out there. The more we can do that proactively, that it's like a force field. If you think about it, your morning routine creates a force field for you. It helps you with your mindset. I started, at, I don't know, 30 years or so ago with meditation, and I didn't know anything about meditation. I bought a book, read some stuff, started meditating because I wanted peace in my life. I was going
Mm.
through some things in my life and upheaval, and I just wanted peace. So the monks look really at
Right.
peace, right? That was
They don't
my
have
thought.
anything else to worry about.
And I didn't know really anything about monks, but I thought, well, they seem peaceful. What do monks do? Monks meditate. That
Yeah.
was my thinking. And
Very
so
smart.
I started down that path. And since then, I've added other things. A few years back, I learned about Hal Elrod and the Miracle Morning. And
Oh,
so I started doing, he has a
I'm
routine.
not a 5 a.m. girl, but I do have a very specific morning and evening routine. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it doesn't have
Just
to be at 5 a.m., which is the other thing is that we don't have to do things exactly the way someone else does it. Take what works for you and then build it around your life. That's why it's so important, getting back to your point about knowing who you are.
yeah.
If you're not a morning
Every
person, if you're not a morning person, and he says this in the book,
yeah.
right? If you're not a morning person, then don't do it first thing in the morning. Do it a little later. But you need to do it in a way that allows you to. I always think of this line from it's The Devil Wears Prada, right? And Tucci, is it Anthony Tucci? Whatever his name is, the actor, his character as Miranda Priestley is coming, he says, gird your loins, right? That this is what we're doing. We are preparing ourselves for and putting this force field around us that keeps all this stuff from it just bounces off. And the more we prepare ourselves and our mindset and are centered in what matters to us and our values and have boundaries, the less that stuff starts to impact. And it takes time, right? It doesn't necessarily happen the first time you meditate. It's not going to prepare you for the rest of your life. It's a practice, and it's called practice for a reason. And
Yes.
there are lots of things that we can do to help. And the bottom line is to pick something, start there, and let
Mhm.
that sort of carry you, and then add something else, and then
Yeah.
add something else.
That's what I teach too. Yeah. So I have so many things I could say. I'm going to pick a couple to bounce off of what you said. You said, how do you want to feel about yourself at the end of the day? And one of the things that I teach in Retention Made Simple is how do you want your clients to feel about their experience with you? And so when you said, how do you want to feel about yourself at the end of the day? I'm like, oops, because it right. And I think I would know that intuitively. It makes sense to me. But even though I believe it and I do it, I'm telling people, how do you want your clients to feel? Which really is important. But if you don't take care of yourself first, it's not going to matter.
Absolutely.
I actually teach a process called the 7-minute gratitude blueprint. And it's at the beginning and the end of your day. And you do a couple of things so that you begin your day with gratitude and you end with gratitude. And it just, everything is better. But what I've started doing, you're talking about doing one thing and then adding. I've started doing habit stacking.
Yeah.
And so it really has worked. And so I'm not a morning person. I typically stay up later. And I used to beat myself up about it and be like, all the cool people get up at 5 a.m. with how? And I'm like, no. And so what I've actually done is I have given myself 100% permission to not do that. I still have my morning routine though. I like
Yes.
I like to wake up without an alarm. It feels better. I don't feel rushed. So personally, what I do for work is I don't have any calls before 10 a.m. I just don't. And so typically I wake up between 7:30 and 8, just with no alarm. And then I get up, I start my day, I have my morning routine, and then by 9, I'm at my computer. That is so much
Nothing wrong
better.
with that.
There is so
Absolutely
much
nothing wrong with
better.
that.
So much
Yes.
better
Yes.
than trying to pretend like I have to be like everybody else. And so my life has gotten so much better once I honored who I am. And I know that if you, like people that are watching this, they're thinking, I thought you were a podcast about business retention. We are. This is. And
You
though,
get to retain.
yes, this is it.
And the other part is, as a leader, you have to set examples. And these are the examples that you set. And this is how you create the culture where people want to stay. Retention in business isn't like doing some magic things. It is about you creating an environment that people want to be, that they actually want to be in, not feel resigned to be in because they don't have anywhere else to go at the moment.
Yeah,
At the
yeah, yeah.
moment. One of the
Ab-
things that I am telling trainees and my coaching clients is that if you take the time to find out what matters to your people, to a point you made earlier, right? What do they value? What do they want? You can leverage their motivation for the things that they want. You want to take that and tie it back to the purpose and vision of your business, right? So that there's alignment there. And then
Mhm.
create the environment that allows that to
Mhm.
happen and grow.
Just beautiful.
Why would anyone want to leave?
One of the things that happened when my company, I started your Admin Ninja in 2019, and I set it up in a way to where the goal was for me to have other people working for me. It was never my plan to be on my own. And within the first month, I had more business than I could do on my own. So I had to start onboarding contractors. It was beautiful. And we've continued to grow and things are good. But what I recognized probably about 2 years ago was I had gone from like I was busy all the time. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't get everything done, even though I was having my team do a bunch of the stuff because I realized I was still holding on to the things that I thought I had to do. And so
Mm,
then I started to have them do them, gave them full autonomy. This is the task. You do it. Do you need help? Let me know. And so I removed myself from all of that and I started feeling better. But what I did was I created a bunch of little me's who were all stressed out.
okay.
And once I recognized that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we started having conversations because I set my calendar up very specifically. I don't work 1 day a week. Tuesdays right now is my day. I take Tuesdays off. I do what, and actually, sometimes I work, but on my calendar, it says, do whatever I want. Do
I
whatever I
love
want.
that. I
So if I ended up working, because I used to say I was taking the day off, I wasn't going to work. And then I worked, and then I would beat myself up. I'm supposed to take off. Did I do it because I had to or because I wanted to? There's a difference. And then 1 week a month, I have my calendar blocked so that nobody can schedule. I have standing calls, but nobody else can schedule. And then 1 week a quarter, I take the whole week off and do whatever I want. And
nice.
I've set that up a few years ago, but now I'm encouraging my team to do the same thing. I don't want you, if I message you something at 10 o'clock at night or I comment on a task at 10 o'clock at night, it's because I just thought of it and I'll forget if I don't do it right then. I do not want you responding to me at 10 o'clock at night. And so I
Yes.
want them to have the boundaries of this is when I work, this is when I don't work, and taking that time off because they're just like little kids. They're
Yes.
gonna do what they
Yes.
see you do. They're gonna do what they see you
Absolutely.
do. And so
Absolutely.
I want my team to stay. Without them, I can't do anything. And we mentioned right before when we started the recording that one of the girls that's worked with me for 4 years, she got a job recently and she's still gonna work some in the evening part-time for me. But it was a really big deal, and I'm so proud of her for doing something new is hard, it's scary, she's in her
Mm.
late 20s, and it's a really big deal for her, and I'm so proud of her. But Mercy, I recognize the cost of her leaving is not her paycheck. It's her she was literally my right hand, like,
Mm,
literally some
mhm.
things where I would say, "Hey, Laura, I need this," and it was already done, or somebody could ask her a question about the company, and things, and she could answer as if she was me, to where she didn't even have to ask me. And that type of loyalty and that type of
Yeah.
knowledge, that intelligence, like the IP that she has in her head that I can't get out, even though we have systems in place. When you lose somebody like that,
Oh, for
um,
sure.
there's a cost. And a lot of people think, oh, I'll just hire somebody new. No, Laura, that's not what's happening.
No, there's so much good in what you said, and that acknowledgement or recognition of going creating that environment and setting the example. You can't do that if you're not aware, if you're not paying attention. And it's very easy to get caught up in getting the work done and not really paying attention to what's happening around you or with the people around you. And depending on the nature of your organization, the things that you may start to see is people not showing up on time, right?
Mm,
Tardiness or absenteeism, a fall in production, right? People's attitudes change from
mhm,
right? So there are telltale signs that something is going on, and if you don't take the time to explore, to ask questions, to
mhm.
get some feedback, right? It's real easy to go, the work is getting done. The work is
Yeah,
getting done.
yeah,
And then you look up and the work, all of a
yep.
sudden, the work is not getting done, or the quality
But the
of that
quality,
work
yep,
is no
for
longer
sure.
getting done.
Yeah, so with retention made simple, there's 3 things I teach. First one is appropriate onboarding, like good onboarding where the expectations are clear, whether it's a team or client, and there's a path, they know where they're going.
Yes.
And then there's appropriate appreciation where you show true gratitude and you remember things. It's a whole process. It's really easy to do once you know it. And then asking for feedback. Because if you don't ask for feedback, you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to make improvement. And so, one of the things that I did, it's been about the time I recognized I turned them into little stressed out me's, little Thams. We had been having a team call once a month because we're all virtual all over the country. And we were having team calls and we would talk about logistics and we talk about what's going on. And now on those calls, we don't talk about work. Everybody gets on the call and it's just 30 minutes to an hour and they get paid to come. So if they come, they get paid and we get to hang out. We talk about what's going on in their world, or what are your family doing for the holidays or whatever. And then whenever I have sporadic calls where we're actually doing logistics, the call is about a logistics thing or a process. We always start with wins or what's good. What's good. And so we always start with what's good or wins. And that has just changed the interaction of my team. And I'll tell you what, I literally could not get done the number of things we get done if I didn't have them. And so to my benefit to say, okay, what can I do to show them true appropriate appreciation in a way that they can receive it and continue to ask for feedback for what I can do to make it better. So yeah, you hit
That's
on so many things that I teach.
it's such a huge, I think, takeaway for people. And what I heard you say in that is getting to know your people, the people on your team, and what matters to them, right?
Yeah.
Showing them appreciation in a way that resonates with them. A lot of times I've worked with leaders and they'll say, we show appreciation. We've done this. Well, is that what your team wants? Is that what the members of your team want? Or do they want something else? I worked someplace once and they gave coffee cards. I don't drink coffee.
Mhm.
Right.
Or I know people
And
that'll do they'll do snacks, they'll send cookies or something, and then you find out your person can't eat gluten.
exactly. Right. And so taking the time to know what matters to them, what they would actually appreciate. Otherwise, it's about you. You
Mm,
did what was easy, what you thought, maybe what you like, rather than what works for the
yeah.
person that you're showing the
Appreciation is
appreciation
about
for.
them, not me.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
all about them. And one of the women that used to work for me a couple of years ago, her name was Donna, and she's just amazing. We're still connected, but she retired. And she was part of my leadership team, which I call the hedge because we're ninjas. And a group of ninjas is called a hedge. But I also see a hedge as a protection. So that's instead of a boring leadership team, it's called the hedge. Well, she was part
I
of my
love that. I love that.
and we were brainstorming ideas of what would be good and coming up with things. And she just looked at me and she goes, I like cash. And so and so we actually did a thing. Instead of me sending something, I said, I'm going to add 2 hours or however many hours based on how long they've been working with me, added some money to their thing. I'm a small company, right? So it couldn't be a lot, but just adding in an hour, couple of hours, what we're going to do in February, and they don't know this. So I'll find out if they watch the podcast. But what we're going to do in February is I'm going to tell them that if they will go volunteer at a local nonprofit, it can be dropping off food, it can be whatever they want, any nonprofit that's in their community. If they will make a donation or go serve in some way, I'm going to pay them an extra hour on their paycheck. They don't know it yet, but I want them to serve and to contribute. And because gratitude and giving and generosity is a big part of who I am. And I want to encourage them to at least explore it. Some of them maybe have never done it and maybe it won't be for them. But if I can incentivize them to give it a try, then who knows, they may go back and do it again later.
That's really amazing. I just heard yesterday, and it's escaping me where I heard it, but that's concept of giving, that we get more pleasure from giving than we do from receiving.
Mm,
And so that you would incentivize that. Again, that's like leading by example and encouraging people to find what works for them. All right. So find a nonprofit, something that connects with you, that aligns with your value, then do
do
what
some.
works for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Volunteer in a way that works for you, or donate money, right? Time or
yeah,
money, something that is of value to you that you can give, that's going to bounce back and make you feel. Going back to, how do you wanna feel, right? How
yeah,
do you wanna feel when you're doing the things that you do, when you're interacting with the people that you're interacting with, whether it's your team members or family members, friends, the community, etcetera? How do you wanna feel at the end of that?
mm,
And being intentional, and I think that's the key. And so you've got retention made simple. My program and framework is called the Simple Leadership Method. And
mm,
simple, one of the components of that is intentionality. And it's about being really intentional about what you do in pursuit of, or in as you're moving in your purpose, right? So being intentional about that. There are all
mm,
sorts of ways we can show up. Be intentional about how you're choosing to do that.
yeah. I was going to ask you for a closing thought, but I think that was it.
That works.
If there's a question that you wish that I had asked that I didn't, or something you wanted to share, but the intentionality thing, Mercy, you can maybe dig a little bit more on that, but that is a pin drop for sure.
No, and I'll just say this, that without being intentional, we can be scattered. It just helps to keep us focused and on target
Mm,
to, again, what it is we're moving towards, who it is we're becoming as we're moving towards the things that we want. So I'm not anti acquiring anything. I have all the houses, cars, etc., businesses that you money. I have all of that. but be
Success is
clear.
not a bad thing.
Absolutely not, right? And have all of that, but who do you need to be in order for you to have those things and stay in alignment with your values?
Yeah.
So
So
I'll leave it at that.
one of the pastors I used to follow, he would always say, most people end up somewhere, but very few end up somewhere on purpose. And that's what, when you said that, that's what made me think of that, is that we're all going to end up somewhere. Or like in Alice in Wonderland, the cats, which way do you want to go? Or where do you want to get? Where do you want to get to? They're like, I guess it doesn't matter which route you take, kind of thing. And so
I say that
intentionality.
at least once a day.
Okay. All right. Very good. I didn't know that. I have a feeling we could do this all day, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. And I hope that if you're still listening right now, I'm going to have in the show notes ways to connect with Whitney. I would really love for you to reach out to her to learn more about who she is, how she might be able to help you. And if she, based on what she said, if you have a question, just reach out to her. Maybe she's not the right one, but she will definitely be able to help you get connected, because she's like me. We're about connections and truly helping in the world. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, I have a simple form you fill out, answer some questions. Would love to have you be considered for talking on the podcast. If you have a retention question that you want answered, maybe that's what we could talk about, where I could actually do some like coaching with you through the process to help you build out your own retention process. So until next time, remember, the fastest path to growth isn't always the next new client. It's strengthening your relationships with your current ones. And if you want to be a guest to share your tip or get personalized retention advice, check the show notes for details. Thanks for listening.